Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Quote of the day is, "And your Lord had said, Pray unto me, and I will hear your prayer." This is the quote from Quran. My name is Dr. Amna Khalid, and I will be presenting the topic of syphilis under the kind supervision of Professor Dr. Saida Hafsal, who is Dean, Institute of Public Health, Lahore. This is the learning outline of today's presentation. We will go through the introduction of syphilis, then the epidemiological determinants, clinical features, phases, and complications, diagnosis, prevention, global and national burden, recent advances, and then the MCQs. So syphilis is a chronic systemic sexually transmitted infection caused by Treponema pallidum. It is characterized by different stages, a latency period, and long-term complications. Major public health concern is due to its asymptomatic transmission, congenital syphilis, and its association with HIV transmission. So these are the dynamics of disease transmission, that humans are the only reservoir. In this case, mode of transmission is sexual contact, either vaginal, anal, or oral. Transplacental, blood transfusion material, direct contact with infectious lesions. Incubation period ranges from 10 to 90 days. Period of infectivity ranges from the appearance of primary lesion, and it's highest during primary syphilis, secondary syphilis, and early latent stage. And these are the epidemiological determinants. We will go through the agent, host, and environmental factors. So the agent factors include that it is caused by Treponema pallidum, which is a spirochete. It's a motile organism, highly fragile. It dies on drying, heating, and disinfection, and it cannot be cultured on artificial media. Host factors are the multiple sexual partners, unprotected sexual intercourse, men who have sex with men called MSM, commercial sex exposure, infection with HIV, pregnancy because of the risk of congenital infection, and poor health-seeking behavior. Environmental factors include poverty, overcrowding, poor access to STI diagnostic and treatment services, low literacy and awareness, social stigma related to the sexual transmitted infections, inadequate antenatal care coverage, weak surveillance and partner notification system. So the clinical stages of syphilis are primary, secondary, then it can become latent. It can be early or latent phase. Then it can be converted into tertiary syphilis, which is further characterized by comatous syphilis, cardiovascular syphilis, neurosyphilis, and then the congenital syphilis, which is again early and late. Primary syphilis has a single painless indurated chancre. You can see its picture on the right side, that it has a clean base, also having clean base. Non-tender regional lymphadenopathy is there. It heals spontaneously. Highly infectious stage, and chancre appears at site of inoculation. Then we have the secondary syphilis, where we get to see generalized maculopapular rash. Involvement of palms and soles is also there. Condylomata lata, which means flat, broad, whitish, wart-like lesions on the mucous membranes. Mucus patches, fever, malaise, generalized lymphadenopathy. This is again the most infectious stage, and systemic dissemination of organisms can be done here. Tertiary syphilis occurs years after the initial infection. It is non-infectious, but it's destructive for the person. It involves gummatous which means the gummas appear in the skin or bone or viscera. These are granulomatous lesions causing tissue destruction. I will show you the picture as well. Then in cardiovascular syphilis, the presentation can be aortitis, aneurysm, aortic regurgitation, and involvement of ascending aorta. Neurosyphilis can involve tabes dorsalis, means degeneration of the posterior column of the spinal cord, causing sensory ataxia or general paralysis, meningitis, stroke, and it can occur at any stage. This is the picture of gumma, that is the granulomatous lesion. Then the latent phase is asymptomatic. It's only seropositive and no clinical signs appear, but disease still persists. It can be divided into the early and late phase. The early phase ranges from less than 1 year duration, but it's still potentially infectious. And late latent phase from more than 1 year duration, and it's not sexually infectious. Then congenital syphilis means transplacental transmission. It's indicator of poor antenatal care. It can be divided into early congenital and late congenital syphilis. Early congenital syphilis shows presentation of snuffles. It means copious nasal discharge, hepatosplenomegaly, rash, anemia, and it presents within first 2 years of life. Late congenital syphilis shows Hutchinson teeth. These are notched, bag-shaped upper incisors. Then we have saddle nose, depression of nasal bridge due to cartilage destruction, deafness, Clutton joints. Clutton joints are painless symmetrical swelling of the knee joints, and it presents after 2 years of life. These are the Hutchinson teeth. You can see they are peg-shaped, notched incisors. This is the saddle nose, depressed nasal bridge. These are Clutton joints, generalized swelling of the knee joints. Syphilis HIV co-infection. Syphilis also facilitates HIV transmission and acquisition. Genital ulcers increase the HIV entry. HIV causes atypical, severe, and rapid progression of syphilis. Early neurosyphilis is more common, and routine dual screening is recommended. Both diseases should be screened together. Same treatment regime has to be followed, but closer follow-up is required. Now we come to the diagnosis of syphilis along with the clinical diagnosis, as the symptoms of different stages are already discussed. Now we will go through the laboratory diagnosis. First of all, it involves direct demonstration, either via direct field microscopy to demonstrate Treponema pallidum from Schenker exudate, or PCR, which detects treponemal DNA, but it has limited availability. Then the second category we can have is the serological test. These have non-treponemal and treponemal test. The non-treponemal tests are VDRL, Venereal Disease Research Laboratory, and RPR, Rapid Plasma Reagent. It is used for the purpose of screening, disease activity assessment, and monitoring treatment response. Then treponemal test includes TPHA, Treponema pallidum hemagglutination assay, and FTA-ABS, fluorescent treponemal antibody absorption test. This is used for confirmatory diagnosis and it remains positive throughout life. Then some special investigations include CSF examination. VDRL is performed on the CSF when it's indicated in the neurosyphilis. And antenatal screening, again, VDRL or RPR are performed in pregnancy. Then we come to the management of syphilis that involve the general principles to treat the patient and the sexual partners. Uh, we have stage-wise treatment. I will tell you in the next slide. Penicillin will be the drug of choice in every stage. We have to do counseling regarding the sexual abstinence till the cure and safe sex practices. We have also to screen for HIV and other sexually transmitted infections. So the specific management according to the stages, you can see that in early phase, syphilis means a primary, secondary, and early latent phase. The drug of choice is benzathine penicillin G. We have to give it intramuscularly and it has a single dose. Then in the late latent phase or the tertiary syphilis, the drug has to be given weekly for 3 weeks. Then in neurosyphilis, we give it IV for 10 to 14 days. And in congenital syphilis, we have to give it IV or IM, and dose then depends on the age and weight of the child. Jarisch-Hirschman reaction, this is the acute febrile reaction that occurs after the treatment, and it's more common after the treatment of early syphilis, and it's simply managed with the antipyretics, and reassurance of the patient is done that the symptoms will settle and these are due to the reaction of the treatment. We have to do the follow-up. Serological monitoring is done using VDRL and RPR. Follow-up is done at 3, 6, and 12 months, and adequate response will be shown if there is fourfold fall in the titer. Now we come to the prevention of syphilis, the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. So the primary level of prevention involves health education on STIs, promotion of safe sexual practices, condom promotion, behavior change communication, and targeted interventions for the high risk groups. Secondary prevention involves early case detection and screening of antenatal women, high risk groups, serological testing using VDRL and RPR, early and adequate treatment, partner notification, and contact tracing. The tertiary prevention involves treatment of late complications, management of neurosyphilis, prevention of disability, and rehabilitation of the affected individuals. Now we come to the global burden of disease. In 2019, the total number of prevalent cases of syphilis was 49.71 million worldwide. The number of deaths caused by syphilis was 7.36 million in 2019. Uh, um, it reflects a reduction of 16% compared with the data of 1990. Uh, at that time, 8.8 million were the cases. This is a CDC website. This is showing the number of cases of syphilis and other STIs in 2024, and you can see the chlamydia and gonorrhea has decreased there since 2020 till 2024, but syphilis is increasing, and 42% increase is seen, and 1,90,242 cases have increased, and among newborns, 3,941 cases of syphilis were there, and 82% increase was seen since 2020. These are deaths from syphilis from different age groups. You can see that in 2021, a total 74,000 deaths were reported, and more of the deaths were in the under 5 age group, in which 72,000 deaths were reported. So congenital syphilis is the major burden. National burden in our country is reported in different countries according to some studies. High rates are reported in high risk groups like sex workers, transgender individuals, and drivers, and sometimes it exceeding 30 to 60%. And in general population studies, they suggest lower but significant rates around 0.67% to over 1% in the blood donors, indicating substantial public health concern needing focused interventions. Uh, okay. This is the data reported to the public health laboratories of NIH, and you can see the reference to disease. Syphilis is not really reported. It means that data reporting is lacking in our area. So now we come to the recent updates. This is the global health sector strategies on HIV, viral hepatitis, and sexually transmitted infections for the period of 2022 to 2030 by WHO. These are their strategic directions with shared and disease-specific actions. They have focus on delivering high-quality, evidence-based, people-centered services, optimize systems, sectors, and partnerships for impact, generate and use data to drive decisions for action, engage in communities and civil society, foster innovations for impact. Okay, you can see the 2030 targets for syphilis. Number of new cases of syphilis among people 15 to 49 years old per year. The cases in 2020 are 7.1 million, and WHO targets for 0.71 million till 2030. And again, the congenital syphilis cases per 1 lakh live births per year. In 25 is less than 200, but the target to achieve till 2030 is less than 50. So this is the triple elimination initiative again by WHO, uh, targeting for the elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV, syphilis, and hepatitis B. In Pakistan, STIs are managed and controlled under the program of Punjab AIDS Control. There is not any specific program for syphilis or all of the STIs separately. So this was the article published in a journal in the Journal of the medicine. One dose versus 3 doses of benzathine penicillin G in early syphilis, and they have concluded that treatment with one dose of 2.4 million units of benzathine penicillin G was non-inferior to the treatment with 3 doses with regard to the serologic response 6 months after the treatment. This is another article published again in 2025, modeling syphilis progression and disability risk with neural networks. And in this article, their work highlights the utility of ANN-based approaches in enhancing the precision of epidemic models, offering valuable insights into targeted interventions and treatment strategies for syphilis and similar infections. So this is all about the disease. Now we come to the practice of MCQs. Question number 1. A 28-year-old woman presents with a generalized rash that includes the palms of her hands and soles of her feet, mild fever and fatigue. She recalls having a painless genital ulcer about 2 months ago, which healed on its own. The most likely diagnosis is a sexually transmitted disease caused by option A, HIV, option B, Treponema pallidum, option C, Neisseria, option D, Plasmodium, or E, Chlamydia. Okay, option B is the right answer, Treponema, causing syphilis. Question number 2. Question number 2. A 35-year-old man presents to a sexual health clinic after noticing a single painless ulcer. Upon physical examination, the clinician notices a well-defined round ulcer with a clean base and firm indurated borders. Given the presentation and history, the clinician suspects this might be a chancre indicative of primary syphilis. The possible locations for this type of ulcer might include option A, throat, chest area, and vagina. Option B, genitals only, or buttocks, back, arms, and legs. Option D, genitals, anus, rectum, lips, and the mouth, scalp, neck, and underarms.
Delta.
D.
Yes, delta is the right answer. It can involve the mucous membranes. Question number 3. A public health physician advised the local health department on developing guidelines for early detection of syphilis. It is emphasized to get serologic testing for syphilis detection. According to it, the antibody test generally turns positive 1 to 3 weeks after the appearance of a certain characteristic lesion. The corresponding stage of syphilis is Option A, tertiary syphilis. Option B, secondary syphilis. Option C, primary. Option D, latent. And option E, congenital syphilis.
C.
Yes, exactly. It's the primary syphilis. Question number 4. A particular stage of syphilis that is both asymptomatic and typically non-contagious unless it's in its early phase. This phase can last for several years and may precede a more severe stage of the disease. The stage being referred to in this scenario is option A, primary, or secondary, or latent, or tertiary, or congenital.
C.
C.
Yes, C is the right answer. Question number 5. A dermatologist consults a patient exhibiting symptoms of secondary syphilis. The patient reports skin rashes and also presents with oral lesions. The doctor explains to the patient that several types of oral lesions can occur in secondary syphilis, except option A, snail track ulcers, or mucus patches, or chancre of the tongue, or Hutchinson's wart, or gumma. Okay, snail
D.
track ulcers. Option A is the right answer. Question number 6. A patient reports a generalized skin rash that is symmetrically distributed on the flexure aspects of the arms, legs, and palms. The rash is painless, indurated, and pleomorphic in nature. Additionally, the patient is exhibiting lymphadenopathy. All of these are the characteristic symptoms of option A, measles, or rubella, or chickenpox, or smallpox, or secondary syphilis.
E.
E.
Yes, E is the right answer. Question number 7. A chronic infectious disease transmitted from an infected mother to the fetus before birth, known as congenital syphilis, has several typical manifestations. Of the following, not a characteristic of congenital syphilis is option A, Gone complex, option B, interstitial keratitis, or mulberry molars, or notched incisors, or saddle nose deformity.
A.
Yes, option A is the right answer. Question number 8. Complications of untreated syphilis include general paresis, a condition characterized by the personality changes, cognitive decline, and motor symptoms. The stage of syphilis that general paresis is usually associated with is option A, primary, or latent, or secondary stage, or tertiary, or congenital.
Tertiary.
D.
Yes, D is the right answer. Actually, it's neurosyphilis that is part of tertiary syphilis. Okay, question number 9. An oral and maxillofacial surgeon is consulted for a patient with the painless perforation in the palate. The doctor explains that when encountering such a case, the first consideration in the differential diagnosis should be option A, syphilis or histoplasmosis, or sacrophylloderma, or actinomycosis or tuberculosis.
A.
Syphilis.
Yes, option E is the right answer. Question number 10. A 30-year-old woman presents to the outpatient department. She reports having had a painless genital sore about a year ago, which resolved on its own. Now she is asymptomatic. The attending physician needs to determine if she is currently in the latent phase of syphilis. Even in the absence of symptoms, the diagnostic test most appropriate to confirm this suspicion is option A, urine test, or spinal tap, or serologic test, or saliva culture, or throat swab.
E.
Yes, serologic test. This is the answer key. This is the YouTube channel of Institute of Public Health where this presentation will be uploaded. Thank you.
Dr. Amna, it was a very good presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Amna.